Hey there, folks. Welcome back to Boss Economics World, where we rip the shiny wrapping off economic news to show you the rusty gears underneath. I'm your host, Boss, here to dish out the straight talk, sharp insights, and a healthy dose of sarcasm on the latest financial fiascos. Today, we're diving into a juicy one, Trump's U.S. administration flipping the script on export controls, letting Nvidia and AMD sell their not-so-best AI chips to China. Oh, and they're calling it a strategic move to keep Chinese tech firms addicted to American goodies. Sounds like a blockbuster plot, right? But is this a masterstroke of economic strategy or a national security train wreck waiting to happen? Buckle up, because we're about to tear this apart with data, examples, and a few well-placed eye rolls. Let's set the stage. Just a few years ago, the Biden administration was strutting around, declaring export controls a new strategic asset to keep the U.S. miles ahead of China in the tech race. Fast forward to this week, July 14th to 20th, 2025, and Trump's White House is basically saying, nah, let's sell Nvidia's H20 AI chips to China. Not the best stuff, mind you, but just good enough to keep them hooked. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick even had the gall to say, we want Chinese developers addicted to American tech. Addicted? Really? Sounds like a drug dealer's business plan, not a national security strategy. But let's dig into the data behind this flip-flop. According to the U.S. Commerce Department, export controls on advanced semiconductors, like Nvidia's top-tier A100 and H100 chips, were supposed to choke China's ability to develop cutting-edge AI, 5G, and military tech. The logic was simple, starve China's tech giants like Huawei and SMIC of the chips they need, and the U.S. stays king of the hill. In 2023, the U.S. chip export ban slashed China's access to advanced semiconductors by 60%, per a report from the Semiconductor Industry Association, SIA. By 2024, China's domestic chip production capacity for nodes below 7 nanometers was still stuck at less than 5% of global output, according to IC Insights. Mission accomplished, right? Wrong. Enter Trump, stage right, with his transactional playbook. Instead of tightening the screws, he's loosening them. Why? Because, apparently, export controls are now just bargaining chips in a grand U.S.-China tech deal. Kevin Su, a tech investor and former Obama administration insider, even mused that this could be the start of a tech grand bargain, with everything from chip-making equipment to rare earths on the table. Sounds like a high-stakes poker game, but here's the kicker, the U.S. might be bluffing with a weak hand. So, what's the economic logic behind this let's keep China addicted strategy? On the surface, it's about money, big money. Nvidia, the poster child of the AI boom, saw its China revenue drop from 26% of its total in 2022 to just 15% in 2024, thanks to Biden's export controls, per its latest SEC filings. That's billions of dollars in lost sales. AMD faced a similar hit, with China sales falling from 22% to 12% over the same period. For Trump, who's all about winning economically, letting these chip giants sell their less advanced H20 chips to China is a quick way to juice up corporate profits and stock prices. After all, Nvidia's stock soared 8% the day the news broke, adding $150 billion to its market cap, according to Bloomberg data. Ka-ching. But here's where the satire kicks in, is this really a win for the U.S. economy, or just a sugar high for Wall Street? Let's look at the bigger picture. The U.S. trade deficit with China hit $375 billion in 2024, up from $350 billion in 2023, per U.S. Census Bureau data. Trump's first-term tariffs, those 145% monsters he slapped on Chinese goods, didn't fix that. In fact, a 2024 Federal Reserve study found that U.S. consumers and businesses bore 90% of the tariff costs, adding $50 billion annually to household expenses. So, what's Trump's new plan? Sell China more chips, lower tariffs, and hope Beijing buys a ton of American soybeans and Boeing jets to balance the trade deficit. Sounds like a rerun of his 2018 Phase 1 trade deal, which, spoiler alert, China never fully honored. U.S. exports to China in 2020 were 30% below the promised $200 billion, per the Peterson Institute for International Economics. And let's not forget the rare earths angle. China controls 80% of the global supply of rare earth minerals, critical for everything from EV batteries to F-35 fighter jets, according to the U.S. Geological Survey, USGS, 2024 report. Trump's apparently dangling chip sales as a carrot to get China to play nice on rare earth exports. But here's the irony, China's already weaponized rare earths before. In 2010, it cut exports to Japan by 40% over a territorial dispute, per Reuters. And in 2023, it imposed export restrictions on gallium and germanium, key chip-making materials, in retaliation for U.S. tech curbs, per Bloomberg. So, Trump's addiction strategy might just end up with the U.S. hooked on Chinese rare earths, not the other way around. Talk about a plot twist. Now, let's get to the juicy part, national security. Biden's small yard, high fences approach was all about ring-fencing critical tech to keep China's military and surveillance state at bay. But Trump? He's basically saying, sure, sell them chips, just not the best ones. Oh, brilliant. Because China's tech firms are totally going to sit back and say, gee, thanks for the H20 chips, we'll just stop innovating now. Newsflash, China's not that dumb. Here's the data to back up the sarcasm. According to a 2024 report from the Center for Strategic and International Studies, CSIS, China's AI capabilities are already 80% as advanced as the US's, up from 50% in 2020, despite export controls. Why? Because China's been pouring $100 billion annually into its domestic chip industry, per the China Academy of Information and Communications Technology, CAIT. SMIC, China's top chipmaker, produced 7nm chips in 2023, defying US sanctions, per Tech Insights. And Huawei? It launched its Mate 60 Pro in 2024 with a homegrown 7nm chip, thumbing its nose at US restrictions, per Nikkei Asia. So, Trump's one step ahead strategy is already a step behind. China's not just addicted to US chips, it's building its own rehab center. And let's talk military implications. AI chips like Nvidia's H20, even if less advanced, can still power surveillance systems, autonomous drones, and missile guidance systems. A 2024 RAND Corporation report warned that easing export controls on AI tech could accelerate China's military modernization by 5 to 10 years. But hey, who needs national security when you can score a few billion in chip sales, right? Trump's even downplayed privacy concerns over TikTok, saying on the campaign trail, let them operate, I don't care. Really? Because ByteDance, TikTok's parent, was caught harvesting US user data in 2023, per a Senate Intelligence Committee report. But sure, let's trust Beijing to play nice. What could go wrong? So, where's this all heading? Trump setting the stage for a big meeting with Xi Jinping later in 2025, possibly at the APEC summit in South Korea. The buzz is all about a tech grand bargain, lower tariffs, ease export controls, and maybe even welcome Chinese investment in the US in exchange for rare earths, fentanyl crackdowns, and TikTok assurances. Sounds like a win-win, right? Wrong. It's more like a lose-lose for the US. First, the tariff rollback. Trump's already lowered tariffs from 145% to, say, 50%, per recent Geneva talks. But here's the catch, China's wish list includes scrapping all tariffs, including the 20% fentanyl duties and Biden's legacy tariffs. If Trump caves, US manufacturers, already reeling from cheap Chinese imports, will take a $100 billion hit, per a 2024 US Chamber of Commerce estimate. And don't forget, China's industrial subsidies, which hit $300 billion in 2023 per the World Bank, will keep flooding the US market with underpriced goods. So much for balancing the trade deficit. Second, Chinese investment in the US. Trump's hinted at welcoming Chinese automakers to build plants here. Sounds great for jobs, right? Not so fast. A 2024 study by the Economic Policy Institute found that Chinese FDI in the US creates low-wage, non-unionized jobs, think $15 per hour assembly line gigs, not $30 per hour skilled manufacturing roles. And let's not forget CFAUS, the US committee that screens foreign investments for security risks. In 2023, it blocked 60% of Chinese deals, per Rhodium Group data. But under Trump, who's not ideologically fixated on controls, per Eurasia Group's Dominic Chiu, CFAUS might just become a rubber stamp. National security? Nah, just build me a BYD factory in Ohio. Third, the fentanyl angle. Trump's praised China for big steps on fentanyl precursors, but here's the reality. China's crackdown in 2023 reduced precursor exports by 30%, per the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration, DEA, but Mexico's cartels just sourced them from India instead. U.S. fentanyl deaths still hit 70,000 in 2024, per CDC data. So, Trump's win here is about as real as a unicorn. So, what's the endgame? If Trump pushes this grand bargain, the U.S. might see a short-term economic sugar rush, higher chip sales, lower consumer prices, maybe even a few Chinese factories. But the long-term costs are brutal. China's tech catch-up accelerates, U.S. national security weakens, and the trade deficit balloons. And let's not forget the political fallout. China hawks in Congress, like Senator Marco Rubio, are already fuming, per Politico. A 2025 Gallup poll shows 70% of Americans view China as an economic threat, up from 50% in 2020. Trump's transactional moves might win him Wall Street cheers, but Main Street's not buying it. And here's the kicker, China's playing chess while Trump's playing checkers. Beijing's $1.4 trillion, Made in China 2025 plan is still chugging along, aiming for 70% self-sufficiency in high-tech by 2030, per CAICT. Easing U.S. export controls just buys China time to build its own chip ecosystem. By 2030, China's domestic chip production could hit 30% of global output, up from 15% in 2024, per IC Insights. Meanwhile, the U.S. CHIPS Act, which pumped $52 billion into domestic semiconductor manufacturing in 2022, is already lagging. Only 20% of funds were disbursed by 2024, per the U.S. Government Accountability Office, GAO. So, Trump's one step ahead strategy might just leave the U.S. 2 steps behind. Alright, folks, let's wrap this up. Trump's chip addiction strategy is a masterclass in short-termism: boost corporate profits, score political points, and hope the national security fallout doesn't blow up before the next election. But economically, it's a disaster waiting to happen. The U.S. trade deficit will widen, manufacturing will suffer, and China's tech rise will accelerate. And nationally, it's a security nightmare, handing China the tools to power its military and surveillance state, all for a few billion in chip sales. Genius? More like suicide. So, what do you think, viewers? Is Trump's grand bargain a stroke of economic brilliance or a national security sellout? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share Boss Economics World for more no-nonsense takes on the financial circus. Until next time, keep your wallets tight and your skepticism sharp.